Hi guys, back with another video for you today. Today I'm reviewing the latest release from the house of Thomas de Monaco. It's called Grand Beau. This one right here, or Grand Beau. This is the third fragrance from Thomas de Monaco. Third one after Raw Gold, which I reviewed last year in April. Although Raw Gold was launched in 2020, I got to review it in April of last year, and it's become one of my favorite fragrances. If you haven't heard me talk about it, I'll tell you a little bit about it today in this review for Grand Beau. And then later last year, Eau Coeur launched this one right here, and I felt like Eau Coeur was definitely an offspring of Raw Gold, but I feel like Grand Beau seems to be totally different than the other two fragrances, and I'm going to let you know all about Grand Beau from Thomas de Monaco coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yeah, today I'm talking about the latest release from Thomas de Monaco. It's called Grand Beau, this one right here. This is a 2023 launch. It comes several months after Eau Coeur, and of course a couple years after Raw Gold. Now Grand Beau is selling at ZGO Perfumery. I have a link in the info box where you can find all three of the fragrances from Thomas de Monaco, and also there's a discount code there you can use as well. But there's a gift with purchase as well. If you buy any of the three fragrances in full bottle format, you get a 4 ml size of the other two fragrances from Thomas de Monaco. So if you bought Grand Beau, you get a 4 ml of Raw Gold and Eau Coeur. So I think that's a great deal. You can, sample all three of the fragrances and go from there. So this is a 2023 launch. As I said, a 50 ml bottle is $270. The perfume is created by Maurus Bachmann. It is a woody aromatic fragrance, and it features notes of pine absolute, Juniper berry, Angelica root for the top notes. And then we've got in the heart, Tuberose absolute, Olibanum, Vetiver, and then finally in the base notes we've got Ambrette, Seaweed absolute, and Ambrocenide. So you heard me say Seaweed absolute, so there's definitely a light marine thing happening in this one, but it's not an overdose, it's not a marine fragrance, it's not overdose with the marine is what I should say. And I feel like this fragrance is definitely setting me to a place of the Mediterranean. I feel like there's pine there, there's the sea as well, but not on the beach part, more up in the hills where it's on the coast. We've got all this green pine trees and aromatic juniper berries, and then of course vegetation. And that's the touch I get because you smell the sea breeze there. You get traces of it hitting your nose along with all that kind of greenery and vegetation that's overgrown in this kind of like a Mediterranean forest. But what I should say with this one is when you first spray it, you got a little bit of pine absolute. It's there. That's the reminder of the Mediterranean pine forest touch there. And then of course the crystal clean juniper berry aromatic touches as well. But for me, for the top notes, it's all about Angelica root. That pretty much dominates. So Angelica root has a very distinct smell. It's kind of a very green vegetal note. So that's what you get with this fragrance. When you first spray it, you're kind of swimming in vegetation. And that's what I think. It's an overgrowth of a pine forest here you're walking through. It is close to the ocean or the sea, in this case the Mediterranean Sea. So you're picking up traces of the sea, and you're also picking up all that vegetation and the pine trees and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first blast with this fragrance. Now for me, I also get a light animalic touch here at the top. But it could be the overdose of some of the notes, but I feel like since there's seaweed mentioned, there's definitely something ambergris-like hitting my nose up top. I don't know, it could be, like I said, some of the other notes working together to create this effect, or it's definitely something like that up there. It disappears though, and then we segue into the heart notes, and here in the heart notes, we've got lots of vetiver. And for me, this fragrance is all about vetiver and Angelica root, so earthy, woody, green, vegetal. These are the keywords for this fragrance. And of course musky is another word I should add as well, which the fragrance becomes later. But for me, vetiver dominates here in the heart notes, along with a little bit of a smoky olibanum, and then of course light touches of tuberose. And for me, the tuberose is there not to really stand out, to just kind of enhance the note, to accentuate some of the notes, to kind of like tone down some of the more masculine leaning notes, I feel like, to balance the fragrance fragrance out. But again, Vetiver wins out in the heart notes for Grand Beau. And I would say, as I said, this is definitely like a Vetiver Angelica root fragrance. So around this time, I'm also a little bit reminded of something like Frederic Maule's French Lover. There's definitely Angelica root or Angelica as a note in French Lover. And for me, because it's here, it kind of reminds me of that fragrance a little bit. So it reminds me that I'm wearing something like that, especially with the fact that this fragrance is very potent with the Angelica root note here. And that's why I feel like since French Lover is male targeted, I feel like both of the fragrances do lean masculine a little bit. So once we're into the dry down stage or the base notes stage, the Ambrette does come in. The fragrance gets really musky here, of course. And Ambrette to me also has a bit of muskiness, but also a vegetal touch. So it kind of complements the Angelica root up top. But of course the seaweed note is mentioned here. It's not as prominent for me in the dry down as it is up top. But there's traces of it there. And then of course it becomes ambery in the base notes as well. A great classy fragrance for men, I feel like. Not for men, I should say it's unisex, but it definitely leans masculine, but a really classy, elegant offering. This is the kind of fragrance somebody would wear day in and day out. So in the end, this is a very aromatic and green fragrance. It has the vegetal touches, of course, very woody, earthy, and green, but there's also the cleanness here. The juniper berry adds this kind of crisp, clean, lightly metallic touches to the fragrance. And of course, it's very aromatic. Light saltiness comes in, of course, amber, bitter, and then of course spicy, earthy, rooty. The rootiness thing is definitely prominent for me. Just imagine you're in that forest, as I said, you've picked a lot of the vegetation, you've brought it somewhere and you're chopping it up and throwing it in a bowl. You know, you're spinning it around and you're taking a whiff of that. That's kind of what I get with Grand Beau, all this kind of like chopped up vegetation, very green and earthy and bitter and spicy. Anyway, that's Grand Beau. Let me tell you a little bit about the other two fragrances, just in case you haven't heard about these two fragrances or haven't heard me talk about them. Now, Raw Gold was definitely what kickstarted my obsession with this brand, and of course, Raw Gold still remains to be my #1 fragrance from this house because it's got everything that I really love going for it. It's ambery, it's honeyed, it's boozy, it's patchouli, and then of course it's got resinous touches, a little bit of funky animalic barnyardy touches in there, and it's really long lasting and super delicious. So that is Raw Gold, really wonderful fragrance, amazing. And then I felt like Eau Coeur is definitely an offspring of Raw Gold, but going into the lightly feminine side because it's got a very prominent Magnolia note here, and Magnolia and some musks, and of course some spicy pink pepper as well. But there's definitely the underlying honey touches that Raw Gold has a lot of here, transferred over to Eau Coeur. So both of them kind of like share some kind of a DNA to me, and I felt like since Grand Beau doesn't have those kind of touches, it's definitely a fragrance on its own, something that comes and joins the family, someone from outside of the family kind of a thing. But really a classy, very gentlemanly fragrance here, Grand Beau. Definitely you should check it out and get your nose on it. And again, I have a link in the info box for ZGO Perfumery. As I said, there's a discount code there. You can use it on these fragrances. And of course, if you buy a bottle, whichever bottle you buy, you get 4 ml samples of the other two fragrances. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Do let me know if you are a fan of any of the Thomas de Monaco fragrances. Have you gotten your nose on Raw Gold? Have you sampled Eau Coeur? And how does Grand Beau sound to you? Are you curious to check it out and see if you like it or not? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Either way, I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.